Hey everybody, this is Jake Terrio with Terrio Studios here with an unscripted video looking at the new ships that have released this season in Destiny. Yeah, I don't know. This is going to be an interesting format. I wanted to get my thoughts down because I've been enjoying making these Destiny ship videos, but yeah, I'm not as good without a script. So far there have been 8 ships revealed in the season, but we know that there, potentially 1, 2, however many more could show up as we get further into the story. Like with Forbidden Memory was available right at the end of the last season, and it wasn't in the collections tab or anything until several weeks. It had been data mined several weeks before the end of the season, but before that nobody knew about it. So we've got 8 ships. 6 of these are from Eververse, 1 is from a weekly challenge, and 1 is from a ritual playlist. So the first is the NEMEAN GALLEY, which seems to be potentially another from Saint 14's private stock. He's got a lot of ships now. He's got of course his Grey Pigeon, but there was one that I can't remember off the top of my head right now that kind of looks like the Metropolitan Frigate. And now the NEMEAN GALLEY with the little lion heads or like goblin heads on the jet intakes. Then we've got the Junkyard Navigator, which I'm kind of fascinated by because it has every indication that it's an Elixni design, but that big chunk of hull on the dorsal side of whatever this really long bit is, that looks almost exactly like the hull of the Skulking Fox, which is a retrofitted Cabal ship. So this is very interesting to me because it is an Elixni ship that's using a Cabal hull as part of its space frame. And I think that's really neat. So I'd like to get this one if it ever shows up in the Bright Dust cycle. So then we have Wanderer's Wings, which immediately when I first saw it struck me as some variant of the Metropolitan Frigate, but I don't think that it is. There's a lot in Destiny that subscribes to the rule of cool rather than any sort of actual functionality of spacefaring vessel, because obviously you don't need wings in space. You don't need a biplane in space. So one could surmise that this was maybe built to operate in atmosphere. But the tiny little flavor text seems to indicate that this ship was out in space for a number of years before it was ever discovered. Next we have the Andromeda Courser, which I love. It's got a very Imperial vibe to it. It's got echoes of some like Sith starships. It's got echoes of, I can't remember the name of Inferno Squad's ship that they have in Battlefront 2. It's just got that classical elongated triangle design, which I'm big on. And this seems to be one of those kind of classic space race spin-offs, similar to there was a shuttle jump ship that was like literally like a shuttle on top of a fuel pod. Halcyon Days. It's in the video. You're looking at it right now. Whatever sort of fictional shipyard built those pre-Golden Age or maybe early Golden Age ships, this seems to be one of those. Next we have Archangel's Might, which strikes me as being another of the kind of tenuously Warmind related ships, for one, because it has like carbon fiber look to it and all this very kind of angular kind of Warmindian look to it. It's got some sort of emblem on the dorsal hull. If this is not a Warmind ship, then, I'll eat my shoes. But all right, next we have the PRAGMAT HARRIER. There's a lot going on here. The space frame is... Oh, wait a minute. Hold your horses. This is the same emblem. That's that same emblem from the Archangel's Might. Hold your horses. What the honk? Well, that's interesting. I have also noted in some posts that I've made on the Destiny lore subreddit that people have responded to with their own observations of things. There is a certain amount of iconography distribution across much of Destiny's cosmetic items, such as these jump ships, that seems to be just kind of tossed around wherever, whenever, without any sort of care given to its greater lore implications. So this could be that, or this could be deliberate. This BX, something that looks kind of like a flipped Florida in this, that classical Destiny shield design. Also, there's something here on the port engine nacelle that maybe looks like a cat. The flavor text would indicate that this is a Dark Age ship. I don't know how accurate that is, but this does, it feels like those kind of ships. It feels like the Derelict. It feels like the Gambit jump ship. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. So next we have the REEFBORN WARBIRD, which is just a lot. There's so much going on here. It's visually very busy. Honestly, it looks a lot like the drones in EVE Online. This could very well be one of those. It's got that kind of, pseudo biomechanical look to it with all these very organically flowing bits of fuel lines or these bits on top of the engine nacelles that just kind of flip around like horns. I'm not entirely sure if they're functional or not. It's weird because this does not seem to fit in the traditional school of Awoken design, especially if you look at ships like the CERES GALLIOT. And this doesn't really feel like that, like the Dreaming City ships that are obviously Awoken variations of other known vessels. This does not feel like that. It doesn't share the same kind of aesthetic, like the livery or the materials and the color palette does not seem to... Okay, sorry. I have just discovered atop what seems to be some sort of intake on the port side engine nacelle is this text that, let me put up some other pictures, I think says Dorsiv, and then some numbers, which this was a long thread in one of the Destiny lore subreddits, because I've discovered this text on several vessels, none of which are obviously related to one another apart from this text. So this goes back to my thing about the designers at Destiny. I think they just have a pool of kind of generic spaceship graphics that they apply liberally to, just add flavor to these ships. But there is some speculation about what this text Dorsiv could mean. The chief theory, or the prevailing theory, seems to be that it could stand for Dormant Siva, which, if you're familiar with the events of Destiny Rise of Iron, is that self-replicating material that was taken aboard many colony ships back in the Golden Age as a means of quickly constructing colonies once the ships arrived at their intended destination. Of course, to varying degrees of success and some varying degrees of tragedy in certain cases. So that's very interesting that that's on this ship. Now, what I could say then, if this is a bit of iconography that has been deliberately placed on all these ships, I could speculate that this ship is of human design, since all the ships upon which I've seen that little bit of text seem to be human ships, and not, Elixni or Cabal or Awoken or Hive. But that's enough of me talking about this ship, because it's kind of bonkers, and that's currently the only interesting thing about it. So next we have CENTERFIRE, which this, quite obviously an Awoken ship. It's got the Queen's symbol there on the port side of the cockpit. This is much more in the traditional school of Awoken design. Very, flowing curves, lots of ornamentality with the twin engine nacelles with all the little filigree and whatnot traveling up and down. It's about all I can say for that. So those are the Season 15 ships that we know of so far. I'll definitely do some more videos on at least a couple of these, because I think, well, like Archangel's Might, I want to do a video on the Warmind ships, and I'm going to do one on Elixni ships that I'm assuming Junkyard Navigator will go in. So we'll be seeing more of at least a few of these. But there's some cool designs, there's some weird designs. I'm interested in the REEFBORN Warbird because it's got that Dorsive text on it. Yeah, if you've seen that, if you know what that is, if you're the designer who made those, please let me know what the heck that is. Yeah, so this has been Jake Theriault with Theriault Studios. Fly safe.